to Channel 23, and the name of our program is The Faces of Carlsbad. This is a program in which you will meet people that you might know, people that you've never met before, but by the time we're finished, you're going to sit back in your chair and say, I'd like to meet that person.
Amazing.
And we're sponsored, by the way, by Baja Broadband, where you can get telephone service, internet service, and television service all in one. How about that? And our guest today is a very famous person, Mr. Dean Cruz. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob. Glad to be here.
Well, Dean, in this show, we try to go into the background of your family, your grandparents, where they were born, where they were raised, and then we'll get up to your parents and then to you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your grandparents.
Well, that was from Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. My grandfather was in World War I, and last name was spelled with a K at the time, K-R-U-S-E. And then later on, when we got into a war with Germany, he thought maybe he should change it to C-R-U-S-E. So that's what he did.
Now, was he overseas in that war?
Yes, sir.
And he came back all right, though, thank goodness.
Yes.
Huh?
So anyway, my father was also there, born in Wichita, Kansas, and somehow ended up in West Texas. Met my mother somewhere along the way.
And what about your grandmother on your...
Yeah, I don't know that much about my grandmother.
It's tough to go back into the past. I had the same problem on my mother's side. I never met my grandmother. She died quite young. I never met my grandfather. He died quite young. I knew my dad's side, but that was it. And with the name Scholl in World War II, the war officially was over in July of 1946. That's when it was officially over. Now, the actual fighting ended in August of 45. And I thought, with a German-sounding name, maybe they're going to send me to Germany. No, the troop ship, 6 troop ships, 5 of them made a left turn to Germany, and we left Brooklyn and headed straight south, and then made a right turn through the canal zone after a week delay down there, and ended up in Japan.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, when I first got there, and speaking about this is your show, but I'm going to bring this up. Some of our Japanese nurses came by, and I was playing ping pong in the barracks with a partner of mine, and they asked him in Japanese where I was from, and I said, I'm from Ohio. And he said, Ohio. And they started laughing, and I said, what are they laughing at? There's nothing funny about Ohio. And he said, yeah, in Japan it means good morning. So,
Okay.
So anyway, so your parents were born in Wichita area, Kansas.
My father was.
Your
right.
father. And your mother was?
She was born in a little town in West Texas. It's not even there anymore, really.
Oh, the town disappeared, huh?
Yeah, it was outside of Albany, Texas.
Where's Albany located? That's a
It's
new
over
one.
there by Abilene,
Oh, okay.
in that area, right
Yeah.
there. Sort of west central, or central Texas.
Central Texas.
Yeah. So I don't know how she met my father. He was working in the area, I guess. And, so they got married originally, then moved to Utah, I think.
Oh,
Lived all around there. My dad was a surveyor in the oil field. He did oil well location and elevation, staking wells and things like that. And so he worked in a lot of far-flung, desolate places. Somehow they ended up in Hobbs, New Mexico eventually. My 2 sisters were born there. I was born there. And then we moved over to Midland, Texas. My little brother was born there. Well, that's where I kind of grew up, in Midland. Went to junior high there, and then we moved to Snyder, Texas.
now getting
That's where I
back
finished high
getting
school.
back to Midland, that's one of my favorite places. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Barnes and Noble bookstore. I love going in there.
Yeah.
After eating in the Olive Garden, it's only about 100, maybe 50 yards from the store. And I thought, oh boy, eat a good meal and then go in. Then my wife and my daughter, they go shopping for 5 hours, but I love it in there.
Yeah, I could spend a lot of time at a bookstore too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's one thing. My father always had a love for books. When we were kids, he made sure we had encyclopedias, and we had a whole collection of the classic literature, you know, that he had purchased from somewhere. It was one of these where you'd get a book a month or something, you know, but they're all the classics there, bound, you know, and in a bookcase. And so to this day, he still has quite a collection of books. He has one of those little stamps, you know, that says from the library from John Dean Cruz, and so.
Oh my gosh! You say your dad sounded like my dad, because he insisted that we have books in that house, and our bookcase was loaded with books, classics, and he expected me to read them.
Right.
Some of them were very interesting, and some of them were boring as all get out, but I had to read it or else.
Right, that was my father.
Yeah. It looks like we came from the same family, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, and you met your wife in Texas, did you?
Yeah, we're both from Snyder. We went to the same high school, but we didn't know each other at the time, not while we were in high school.
Yeah.
After high school, I was going to Texas Tech and came home for the summer, and a buddy of mine set me up on a blind date. And we got married about 2 years later. Been married for 28 years now.
28 years.
Yes, sir.
And you met on a blind date.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever thank that guy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was my best friend. He was dating a girl that I used to date.
Oh, I see.
And so she was spending the night in town with my wife. They were friends. So he wanted to go out with her, but she couldn't go unless Kelly, my wife, went with her. So that's how we ended up meeting. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And you've been married 28 years, did you say?
Yes, sir.
The years pass by very quickly when you're happy.
They do. They really, really do. Right.
And then, what kind of work did you get involved in or what did you do after you went to school and graduated? Did you go right into some type of business?
Well, after high school, I went to Texas Tech and studied architecture.
Oh.
It's a 5-year program at the time, so studied there. I originally went to Tech. I was going to study biology or range and wildlife management.
Yeah, yeah.
And my father said, "You're going to end up working for the government, and that's not going to suit me." So he wanted me to be an electrical engineer, so that's what I started off. Before classes even started, though, I switched over to architecture. I'd always been interested in that since I was a little kid, drawing little plans and things. I had a love for drawing and for art, and on the science side too. And architecture kind of combines both of those, art and science, you know.
You're one of those, aren't you? One of those great drawers. I couldn't even draw a stick figure properly.
It's something you can learn. Anybody can learn that. So,
well,
but I had a love for it, and that's kind of what draws. I think that's what initially draws people to architecture, is love for drawing and design and things. But at the time, it was the Department of Architecture was under the College of Engineering, so I didn't have to switch colleges there at the university.
Oh.
And then later on, I told my dad that I had changed majors to architecture. And he said, "Architects are the most miserable people I've ever met."
Your dad said that?
Right. They're always hunched over a drafting table, just you know, not having any fun. He was working outside all the time, so to him it just seemed miserable to stay at an office all day long. But he accepted it, and I graduated in '88. Came to work for Burl Durham. He hired me right out of college.
Wow, great.
I was looking for a job, so I had a few phone numbers of some alums, and he was one of them. I called him just to practice, really. And usually you couldn't get past the receptionist, you know, back in those days.
Oh, is that right?
But when I called his number, he answered. The receptionist at those days went home about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So Burl answered the phone. He kept asking me where I was from. And I didn't want to say I was from the little town of Snyder, Texas, you know, because everybody else was asking, you know, questions like that. And I kept saying I'd been going to school in Lubbock for 5 years. He said, but before that, where are you from? So finally I said, well, I'm from Snyder, Texas. And he said, well, I'm from Spur, which is even a smaller town over in West Texas area. So we hit it off real good. He was looking for somebody from a small town who could fit into a small town here in Carlsbad.
He was a nice man.
He was.
I liked
a great
Bill.
guy.
He really was.
Learned a lot from him. So I worked there for 23 years.
Is that right?
And then a little over a year ago, Larry Mitchell and myself started our own company, Mitchell and Cruz Architecture.
Mitchell and Cruz Architecture.
Yes, sir.
That's MAC. Is that Mitchell and Cruz or
It's MCA.
MCA?
Yeah, working for MCA. That's what.
Mitchell Cruz Architecture. Well, that's fantastic. Have you, in that type of work, do you ever run into serious problems?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Well, what do you mean by serious?
Well, you've designed something the way you think it should be, and somebody doesn't like that particular thing. Do you ever run into it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Hopefully you've communicated your ideas and everything along the way, and the client knows exactly what they're going to get, and sometimes that's the case. But there's always somebody later on that wonders, why did we do this or why did we do that? But
Now you talk to the husband, and you tell him this is the way you'd like to do it, and he agrees. And then the person who comes along and doesn't like it is usually his wife. Is that it?
well, no. We do a lot of commercial work like that.
Oh, I
But
see. Okay.
on residential projects, it could be that way. Or it's always, sometimes you got to wear a little different hat when you're doing a residential project. You sometimes have to be a part marriage counselor. 'Cause it's hard to build a house, and construction is, it's hard and it's dirty, and it can put a strain on people. But most of the time we're doing commercial projects. We do a lot of schools, educational things like that. So, but,
Yeah, how do you get involved with the commercial part? Do they contact you and say they have an idea
Yeah.
that they would like, and then you go over and discuss it with them?
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes the contractors are bringing us projects. Sometimes a client comes in off the street. Or
Yeah.
when we first started, we just went out onto the street. We pounded the pavement door to door, telling people who we are. And of course, we'd been here for a while anyway. People knew us, so we thought, why go somewhere else? We'll just start our company right here in Carlsbad.
Now you have your headquarters here in this area where we're doing our interview, Channel 23, aren't
We're upstairs.
you? You're
yes, sir.
upstairs, yeah. I recently had a chance to go up there and look around, and I'm going to tell you that is really a beautiful area up there.
Yeah. Well, we kind of like it. We got a lot of windows. We got a good view. We do have the stairs, though. But if somebody would like to come visit our office and they can't do the stairs, just give us a call. We'll come down, meet you somewhere else, or something like that.
Well, you know, recently when I just went up to see you a while ago, I went up there with Mr. Lutman, and by the time he got to the top, he was panting so hard, I thought, well, you poor fellow, is there anything I can do, guy? He said, yeah, give me a piece of candy. So he did that.
You get used to it. You get used to the stairs.
Yeah.
It doesn't take too long. But I see you walking all over town.
Oh,
so
I
you're
walk
probably
everywhere.
used to it, right?
I recently had a gentleman stop me. In fact, it was last week. And he said, Mr. Scholl, you want to ride? And I said, no, I'm fine. I just love walking. He said, well, I thought maybe your car broke down. I said, no,
Right.
it's just me.
From,
So anyway.
from the office here, I'll usually walk home and back at lunch.
Mhm.
It's not that far. And
Yeah.
I could use exercise a little bit. But for 20-something years, I worked where I couldn't see outside. I didn't have a window, you know.
Oh.
Now we've got windows all over the place up there.
Oh,
A
that's
lot of
nice.
natural light.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. Well, Dean, what do you do in your spare time to relax?
I don't ever relax, hardly. I don't have spare time. I work all the time. Used to, you know, like to go fishing or camping, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
But here lately, seems to be work all the time. Even on Saturday.
7 days, 6 days a week?
Yeah. Yeah. And we are already hard workers, but when you have your own company, you're just working all the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
And, but you do get Sunday off.
Right, yeah.
What do you do on Sunday?
Well, we go to the meeting, go to church.
Mhm.
And, I am involved in volunteering my time, teaching the Bible
Mhm.
to other people, Bible studies, things like that.
Mhm.
That is how I spend most of the time I do have away from work, is in the ministry, things like that.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So,
So you could have been a preacher.
yeah, I guess I am one, but
Yeah.
of course I don't get paid. But we're, everybody volunteers their time, and I serve as an elder in the congregation, so
Oh, great.
that keeps me busy.
May I ask which church?
I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses,
Oh, I see.
the English congregation out there.
Mhm.
Right, so,
I have some of those nice ladies knock on my door every so often,
yeah.
and they're so sweet and so nice.
Right.
I wish all people were like that. Well, do you, who does the cooking in your family, your wife or you?
Oh yeah, my wife does. She's a good cook.
Good cook?
Yeah.
You better say that, because if she watches our show, if you've said anything else, or you'd be in trouble.
No, she's a good cook. She takes care of me real good.
What kind of food do you enjoy eating?
Oh,
I should say your favorite foods.
yeah, I haven't met much food that I don't like.
Oh, okay.
She does really good on the green chili chicken enchiladas. That's pretty good.
Green chili chicken enchiladas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I could just see Mr. Lutman loves that. Yeah.
So we do that.
You're going to have to bring him a little small tray of that someday. 'Cause, oh,
Okay.
he would really, you'd be tops with him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, occasionally my wife will make extra a pan and we'll take it over to someone in the congregation who's maybe sick or,
Mhm.
or homebound or something like that.
Yeah.
So she does a lot of that kind of stuff.
Do you ever get the chance to travel anywhere? To relax on, say, a vacation?
I haven't taken a vacation since 2004. And we decided we would just stay in New Mexico when we just made a big loop
Yeah.
through southern New Mexico, went over to the Gila Wilderness, to the cliff dwellings there, spent some time at Snow Lake.
Mhm.
We kind of like the out-of-the-way places. Had a good time, good visit. We just kind of camped our way around and back
Oh.
home.
Well, let me ask you a question. I've been out here since 1957, and I've been here all those years, with an exception of 2 years where I taught out in the Pacific. Have you ever been to the village of Jal?
Sure.
Do you know, I've never been to Jal, and I've asked my wife numerous times, would you drive me down so I could see what that town looks like? And I've waited all these years and I still haven't made it.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Jal as small as they say it is, or is it just their imagination?
No, it's pretty small.
Pretty small?
Yeah. Seemed like we had a project near there. I can't really remember for sure. Might have been. We used to do some work in Eunice, New
yeah.
Mexico. We've done work for a lot of the school districts in the area over the
Mhm.
years, especially working for Burrell. We did a lot of school work in Eunice and Tatum and little towns, and also Carlsbad, Artesia, Hagerman, places like that.
Did your father retire from the oil business?
He finally did retire at the age of 80.
The age of 80, that's
The,
fantastic.
the company he worked for covered all of Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah.
Mhm.
And eventually it just kept shrinking till it was only Oklahoma. When I was a kid, he moved to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And he worked for that company until the owner of the company finally just passed away. He was about the age of 90-something. And he was the last one that left, and they just kind of closed the company. He kind of kept going after that on his own. And finally, when he turned 80, he thought, well, I guess I should stop. And I said, why are you going to stop? He goes, well, I'm 80. So, but now he travels. He does a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Travels around.
And he's still going strong.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, what about your grandmother? Your mother? She's still.
No, she passed away just about a month ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
She ended up with Parkinson's disease,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a long, slow. They can't do anything to cure Parkinson's disease. They just try to slow it down.
Yeah.
But eventually, she became homebound in a wheelchair, and eventually was in a skilled nursing facility there in Lubbock for
Yeah.
about 8 months. And then she was tough, but she
That's a
finally just
disease
let
where
go.
you forget what you're doing. Is that it?
No, that's probably Alzheimer's. She has
Alzheimer's.
Parkinson's.
What's the
It's
major
like
part?
your brain gets disconnected from your body.
Oh.
You tell your feet to move, but they just don't.
They won't. Oh.
Or some people get the bad shakes and the
Mhm.
tremors. She didn't really have that. She just, her feet wouldn't move, her body wouldn't move like she wanted it to. So,
That had to be hard on your father, I'm sure.
yeah.
So, do you keep Dad interested with projects and show him what you're doing?
Yeah, he's interested in that kind of stuff. Or my parents got divorced back when I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But both my parents got remarried. But
So you're kept pretty busy with this,
yeah,
and you don't really slow down at all.
no, not really.
My gosh. Have you ever had a project that was your favorite in all the things you've done that really made you very proud of what you were doing?
Couple times, right? I worked for Burl for about a couple of years, and then we moved out to Reno, Nevada. A friend of mine that I went to college with was getting married. He said, "Come out and be my best man." So we did, and while I was there, his boss offered me a job at another architecture firm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bigger firm, and more, younger people, and bright lights, big city kind of thing. So we
Right.
went. And I did one project there. It was a residence, and the client walked in and said, "This is exactly what I wanted. This is
Ooh.
exactly what I wanted it to look like." And the project just went real smooth. And every once in a while that happens, but most of the time it's a little more of a struggle. But
How long did you stay in Reno?
we were there for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
My son was born there in Reno. Every couple of months, Burl would call me and say, "Are you ready to come back?"
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Well, we just got here." He said, "Well, good. You haven't unloaded the truck, just come back." Then after a while, I said, "Well, I just got to give it a chance, So then my wife got pregnant, and I said, "Burl, we can't move while she's pregnant." He said, "We got doctors here." And I said, "Well, I know, but moving is hard on
Yeah.
when picking up boxes and just the stress of." And so when my son was finally born, he was 6 months old, and we put him in a box and we moved back to Carlsbad. I came back working for Burl. My wife got her job back too. She worked for Dr. Most.
Oh,
at the
Dr.
time.
John Most? Oh, what a nice man.
She was the only one that could run that X-ray machine they had down
Mhm.
there, which was from the 40s probably. And they developed film by hand and all that, and she was the only one that knew how to do that. So she was the X-ray tech there for a long time.
Well, I'll tell you, Dr. Most was an outstanding doctor and
He was a nice guy.
a wonderful man.
Yeah.
With the growth, this terrific growth that's occurring in Carlsbad right now, have you noticed an upsurge in the business that they've been contacting you with?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, that was one of the reasons when we started our own business, was just to stay here. People already knew us, like I said, but this is the hot spot. So, and it worked out well. We've picked up a lot of clients that are in the oil field related industries, trucking companies, oil field service companies.
And what do they go for mostly? Yeah.
They want an office with a shop attached, like a trucking company.
I see.
Office with a warehouse, that kind of thing. So, doing a lot of those. I've seen a lot of new construction. We're doing residential projects now also, and so People are wanting, you know, new homes. We've had a shortage of housing in Carlsbad for a long time.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that.
And this has hit us hard because we didn't have the housing available for the huge numbers that are coming in.
That's right, right. We definitely see a need for new apartments, and we still have in the works some employee type housing for some of our clients, as they have a need for new employees, but there's no place for them to live. They're worried about if they hire the staff that they need, where will they live? So some are thinking about building some places for their employees.
Well, that puts you in a rough spot, though, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, you don't have any time to do anything except work now.
That's right. That is
Yeah.
right. We do. We ourselves need to bring some employees in, but you know, where would they stay? How much would we have to pay them so they could pay rent now in
right.
Carlsbad?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So we're looking around for people that have a little experience, people that already live here maybe, that we could utilize their skill, and then they wouldn't have to relocate. We've definitely seen an increase in the activity, even the traffic.
Oh, it's unbelievable,
all
isn't
kinds.
it?
Right.
And you get involved with so many projects. How do you keep up with all that? I mean, I would be overwhelmed.
It can get that way sometimes. You just have to take it really just one at a time, you know, up here. But we keep a list, and we try to keep a schedule, and try to keep everything on track.
That's great.
But we do everything we answer the phone, we clean the office, we pay the bills, and we kind of have to be a jack of all trades right now. But the two of us, we sort of split it up and
your partner's,
approach it that way.
Your partner's pretty good too, isn't he?
Yeah, good guy, good family. Right.
Now, how many children do you have?
We have one son.
One son. How old is your son?
He's 22.
22.
Yes, sir.
Is he living in Carlsbad too?
Yes, sir. He works full time and goes to school full time out here at New Mexico State, and so that keeps him. He goes to work from 8 to 5, goes to school from 5 to 8.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So
It sounds to me as though he has the same drive that you have. So he must follow his dad quite well.
I still can't get him to take the trash out.
Oh, is that right? You can't get him to take the trash out. No, that's great.
But I can't complain too much because he's a pretty good kid.
Well, getting back to your time in Reno, Nevada, did you? I know you were pretty busy out there. Did you have time to go to the casinos every so often?
Yeah, I try to stay away from there, but somebody would come to visit and we'd take them out there. But it doesn't take very long to go into a casino and lose some money, and the excitement of that just seems to fade away pretty quick. But we've spent a lot of time going up to around the Lake Tahoe area. We did some projects up there, some custom homes. So that was pretty nice. Reno's a nice town. The weather's real good. It's kind of on the edge of the desert and the mountains. You can have both.
You have both.
And they had just about everything you need, but it's one of those towns that never closes, never stops.
24 hours a day.
And when my son was born, we realized we're so far from home. We just thought we'd come back. So that's what we did. But
So he was born in Nevada?
he was born in Sparks, Nevada, which is right next to Reno.
Yeah.
But that's where the hospital was, so that's where he was born. We really enjoyed our time there, made some good friends, and saw a lot of beautiful country there. We'd go camping over into California, Plumas National Forest, and things like that.
Do you ever think back? Do you ever think back to those wonderful days when you could travel around a little bit?
I think back to those days when we lived in Reno. It seemed like we had a little extra money, we had a little extra time. It was just me and my wife, and the dog.
Yeah.
And we went to a lot of really beautiful places, just camping. And, fishing, but it was a little different fishing out there. I'm an old bass fisherman, right? And I'm up here trying to catch these trout, and they're trying to teach me how to fish for trout, and I just really couldn't do it. So we searched around and found a lake that had bass in it.
Oh.
Called the park ranger. He said, I told him that we were from Texas, New Mexico, and we're looking for bass. He told me where to go. He was from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
But the fish don't get real big because the growing season is not that long. They're a little stunted, but they get nice and fat.
Yeah.
So we went to where he told us, and we cleaned up on the fish there. But fishing out here is a little more my style than the trout.
More relaxing?
It makes your blood pressure go. As soon as that hook hits the water, my blood pressure goes down.
Oh, is that right?
We used to spend quite a bit of time and fishing just right here on the Pecos.
Yeah.
I used to get off of work and go straight down there and fish on the way home.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. But we hadn't had a chance to do that in a while.
You're so busy now that you can't do that. Huh?
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
What does your son plan to do when he graduates?
He's somehow he's a very mechanically inclined young man, and I don't know where he got it because he didn't get it from me. But
Well, he
he
had to
likes
get it.
cars.
Oh, yeah.
He's studying automotive and mechanics and welding.
The James Dean type of person, and he likes cars.
He
Tell
does
him to
have-
drive carefully, though.
Right. Yeah.
We don't want him to get into another accident. Well, listen, I want to say this to you. It's been a real pleasure having you down here, Dean.
Well, thank you, Bob.
I just want to give you a little bit of advice.
Okay.
Don't work so hard that you ruin your health. Enjoy life a little bit. You've got a lovely wife, take her to the movies or take her down to the river while you go fishing, okay?
I sure will. I'll try to do that.
Does she
I need
like,
to do that more. For
Does
sure.
she like to fish?
Oh yeah, she likes to fish.
Now, see?
For a long time, I would have to bait her hook and take the fish off, and then one day I sit here holding my pole while I was dealing with hers, and I looked over and she had a big old fish on my line, and I said, "That's it. From now on, you bait your own hook," and she did. But,
That's terrific. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being our guest
Well,
here today, Dean. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Bob.
And
Enjoyed it.
when you get home this evening, tell your wife I heard the story about her fishing, and I'm very proud of her. Would you?
Yes, sir.
That you know a man who's very proud of her.
Okay, I sure will.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Channel 23, we want to wish you all a wonderful year, and from us, goodbye and good luck.